So today I want to talk about applying to college because I know I had a lot of questions when I was applying to college and a lot of people didn't have the answers and it was just like a big mumble jumble of like confusion. So I was hoping that I could answer some questions for you guys and just kind of talk about the process because it wasn't too long ago that I was applying to college and I'm a freshman now in college, which you know, but I figured I could give some helpful advice. First, there's kind of 3-ish ways you can apply to colleges. First is like directly to the school through their school, like on their website. It can be like apply now, and the option is like apply through the school. The second and third options are either through the Common App or Coalition app. And these are two more broad open forms of applying, and you can apply to multiple schools at once when you apply through either of these. Now, some schools belong to both the Common App and the Coalition app, and you can apply through either of those to apply to a school, or some schools only belong to one of the like big applications, Common or Coalition. For example, until I was applying to college, University of Florida only belonged to the Coalition app, but now they apply to Common and Coalition app. I did all of my applications through the Common App, so I was just lucky enough that all the schools I was applying to worked through Common App, and so that was just an easy way for me to apply. The next part is going to be your essay, resume, SAT, and transcripts. Okay, so first, essay. Through the Common App and Coalition app, they're going to have essay prompts, and you're going to pick one and you're going to write like a short essay, and they're usually to get a more holistic view on you and just sort of like who you are as a person, what you've done, or maybe some like hard life experience you've had. I wrote my essay on leadership and my leadership throughout high school. And I just thought, it really brought out the best characteristics in me. And so that's why I wrote it. Next is your resume and transcripts. Okay, so your resume, is what you've done in high school. If you've had a job, if you've been in clubs, if you've been on leadership in clubs, so I would put the clubs I was in, the leadership I was in those clubs. I talked about having a part-time job as a babysitter as well as a part-time job working at Publix, a grocery store. I also put in there like my GPA at the time being, like weighted and unweighted. And the next part is transcripts. So when you apply to colleges, you're going to upload an unofficial transcript. This is going to show like what your grades were throughout high school and your GPA. This is super important. This is one of like the main things I think colleges look for. You're going to get that through like your high school. I think I did mine through guidance, for example. The next part, your SAT. Oh, the dreaded SAT, how we all hate the SAT. If you meet someone who likes the SAT, like they're next level, hated the SAT. All I know is people hating the SAT. You have to submit an SAT score. I think with a few exceptions, maybe like some sort of like if you're doing armed forces thing, maybe you don't, or ROTC, but for the most part, you need to have an SAT score to submit. A lot of colleges have a range they're looking for with their students that are applying, and if you're above that range, great. If you're below that range, you might not have as great of a chance of getting into that school. You take the SAT. Like, the most ideal time I've heard people say is to take the SAT a semester to a year before you're going to apply to college. So if you're going to apply to college in the fall of your senior year, you want to take the SAT either fall or spring of your junior year. I, on the other hand, took it starting my sophomore year, and I took it multiple times, to see sort of where my baseline was as a sophomore and then to improve upon it. And, I took it a couple times junior year to, improve my score, which I think was a super smart tactic and really helped me in the long run because you learn the test, and that's super important in taking the test. Let's talk about deadlines and dates. The main date in a normal year, I'm talking like pre-COVID normal year, the regular date for like most applications being due is going to be November 1st. October 31st is a very stressful day, and a lot of times these applications of websites close down because you have millions and millions of students applying at like 11:58 or 11:59 p.m. to get their application in. There's like rolling decisions, early decision, and early action. So for rolling admission, you can apply basically anytime, before the November 1st. And I think some schools you can apply after the November 1st, and they don't come out with a decision all at the same time. So some people I know, like applying to University of Central Florida, applied on October 1st, and they found out by October 14th whether they were admitted or not. So it doesn't all come out at the same time, which is why it's called rolling admission. So it's as you turn in, decisions come out, basically. The next one is early decision. Oftentimes, early decision and sometimes early action has admission due dates that are earlier than that November 1st deadline. So this means for early decision, if you apply for early decision and you get accepted, you have to accept that acceptance. It's basically like a binding contract, and you can only apply to one school as early decision, because if you apply to two, you can't go to both schools. The next one that's super similar that people get mixed up is early action. So I applied to multiple schools early action. This had a deadline date that was before November 1st, and it basically meant I found out if I got in or not before the regular admission. So I would apply October 20th, and I would find out their early action admission before their regular. But those schools also have regular decision, and so you would apply by November 1st, and you would find out with regular decision applicants. An advantage of doing early action is if you get deferred as early action or don't get in as early action, a lot of times they will review your application for the regular decision applicant pool. Now, the regular decision is the one that I was talking about earlier. You apply by November 1st, and you have one date that you find out you get in along with everyone else. So a lot of major schools have this. So Florida State University, University of Florida, a lot of schools by November 1st. And for Florida State, we found out end of January. And for University of Florida, we found out mid-February. So for the most part, there are three types of decisions that'll come out. You either have deferred, accepted, or rejected. And this is in my experience, maybe there's something else. Now, deferred means that for the time being, you have not gotten in. This can either be for early action or for regular decision. Oftentimes, if you get deferred for early action, you'll find out acceptance or rejection with the regular admission applicant pool. If you only applied regular decision and you get deferred, it's often a couple months later that you find out whether you've gotten in or not. So for example, I got deferred from University of Michigan in the early action pool, and then I got accepted in the regular decision pool. So that was super exciting. Accepted obviously means you've gotten accepted into the university. Oftentimes, they'll either accept you for fall or for the summer. There are also some schools that accept you, but through a pathways. For example, Florida State University will accept students through Seminole pathways, and you have to do either a semester or two online or a semester or two at Tallahassee Community College before you can transfer to Florida State University. Rejection means you were rejected. Sadly, you did not get into the school, and you probably will not get into the school for this year. You always have the option to transfer to that school, though, and apply as a transfer student. I hope I cleared up some confusion or made the process of applying to college a little easier. I hope you learned something and this didn't feel like a little bit of a waste of your time. Some things we touched on were Common App versus Coalition App versus applying through the school directly. We talked about having your essay, resume, SAT, and transcripts ready to go when you apply. We talked about that hard, really special date of November 1st. We also talked about early decision, early action, or regular decision applications and deadlines. Then we talked about being deferred, accepted, or rejected. Now, I just want to remind you that this is during a non-COVID year. I know that my high school friends who are applying to college this year had a different experience and their deadlines were extended. But for the most part, it was the same process, just with a couple different dates. But in years past, it has always been that November 1st hard deadline. It is a very special day in high school. And you get a lot of relief after that day. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'm going to talk about in my next video what colleges I got into. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and let me know what you want to see in one of my next videos. Have a wonderful day, and don't stress too hard about applying to college. It's not that big of a deal.